Hey, Tim, nice to meet you. Hope you're getting settled in all right.
Good to meet you, Frank. Good to meet all you guys. First off, appreciate getting settled in step by step. Takes a little bit, man, but it's great to be here.
Yeah, I bet. I was looking over some of the similarities between Memphis's offense last year compared to Marshall, and the numbers are pretty much identical between the percentages of run versus pass. So how easier does that make your transition knowing you're coming into a program that is used to your philosophy in terms of balanced attack?
That was a big part of it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was at a good place at Marshall, and this job presented itself and this opportunity presented itself. So got excited when this opportunity presented itself to me. So you start to research it, and I saw the same thing you did, and that's what you're looking for, is how quick the transition can happen. The terminology and it is one thing, but the philosophy is what you're really looking at, and the type of skill sets that you're going to be playing with, and does that match up? There's times I went from FIU in Florida up to Montana, and that's a different type of athlete. It's a different type of skill set. So that makes the transition a little bit more difficult to do, while going from where I was to Memphis. Now, the skill sets are very similar. So a lot of things I've done in the past match up with what they're doing here. And when you take over at a place like this, or go into a place like this, you kind of find out what they're good at, find out what, I say they, but we now, find out what we're good at, find out what we're not good at, be able to tweak some things as it goes, and be able to add some things that I've done in the past that would match up to the skill set and the philosophy of the offense here.
And then looking at the backfield, you've got, a number of different running backs, from Brandon Thomas, Rodriguez, Clark, Asa Martin, Duckers is now on the roster. And then the quarterback, you've got Seth and Grant that's competing for a starting job. Looking at the talent that you have in those two positions, I guess how exciting is it to know that you'll be able to do a number of different things with those guys on the roster?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to find out exactly what their skill sets are, exactly what they're good at. Part of the philosophy that I come from, and philosophy I grew up with, is personnel means nothing, meaning that you got to play 5 offensive linemen, you got to play a quarterback, and then you're going to play the 5 best players after that. And if the running back allows you to line them up in the slot, running back allows you to line them up at receiver, or vice versa, you can do some real fun stuff with that stuff, and really cause some stress on the defense. So once I like the skill sets of all those guys in the backfield, like the skill sets of receivers, like the skill sets of the tight ends, and be able to find out exactly what they are through these next couple of weeks, and obviously through spring ball, through the summer, and kind of put it all together in fall camp. When I do go to new places like this, again, you find out what skill set they have, the players. You find out the philosophies and things that they were good at in the past, things that I like to do, kind of put that together and create our offense moving forward. And, I think the skill sets they have at all positions allow you to do some fun stuff, for lack of better terms, but allows you to do some good things that can attack defenses.
Appreciate you, Tim.
Evan, go ahead.
Sorry. Tim, again, welcome to Memphis. It's good to see you. So I'm curious, when you were at Marshall, you've navigated young quarterbacks. And so I'm curious, you come to Memphis, you have obviously a sophomore in Seth Hennigan, you have Grant Gunnell, who has 3 years of eligibility, has some experience. So how have you kind of managed young quarterbacks, and just kind of how do you bring that now to a young quarterback room?
Well, I don't, first off, it's good to meet you, Evan. I talked to you on the phone a couple of times. Good to meet you in person. I don't like the term young quarterbacks, because to me, that's just an excuse for them to be able to make a mistake. So, Seth himself has played a full season, which is good. But my whole philosophy of playing quarterback is, how do you take a really hard position to play and make it as simple as possible for them? Okay. So, part of the philosophy that we have here at Memphis, part of the philosophy that was here at Memphis, part of the philosophy where I come from, is we don't need to do 10,000 different schemes and 10,000 different pass plays and all that type of stuff. Let's do a handful of schemes and be able to do it out of a whole bunch of different looks, where we can keep it as simple as possible for that quarterback, so he knows, one, exactly what his base read is. And what his base read is on day 2 install of spring ball, for example, is going to be his same read that he's making in the bowl game come end of the season. So how can we keep him confident that he knows that base read inside out? He knows the adjustments in the event defenses or do some different things that we don't see. He knows how to attack it against every coverage, every blitz, every look we can get. And you can't do that if you have 60 pass route schemes. That makes sense. So we try and keep it as simple as possible, which I always say a hard position to play, yes, but we can keep it as simple as possible so his reads are married up and his reads stay consistent throughout the season, and then allow him to just use his skill set where he then no longer is a young quarterback and they can mess around with coverages all they want and mess around blitzes all they want, but he has the answers in his head of where he's going with the ball, no matter what the look is, which I said is a lot easier with a handful of schemes out of a million different looks than it is a million different schemes out of a handful of looks, if that makes any sense, Evan.
Sure. And also too, I mean, I mentioned that you've worked with freshman quarterbacks before. And so I'm curious, have you had situations where where you obviously come to a roster where you have multiple quarterbacks? Have you had to like kind of manage, a quarterback competition, so to speak? And if so, kind of how does that come to Memphis, where obviously Seth is established as QB1, but obviously Grant Gunnell had some experience and brings things as well. So how have you managed a QB battle before? And how do you kind of bring that here where you have, set two, really good quarterbacks?
Yeah, well, first off, that's a good problem to have because there's a lot of places in the country that don't have, especially with the transfer portal right now. There's a lot of places in the country that don't have two really good quarterbacks because most guys jump ship and try and go elsewhere. So that's a good problem to have, number one. Okay. To answer your questions in order, yes, I've been in situations where there's a quarterback controversy, for lack of better terms, quarterback competition that rolls through spring ball, that rolls through summer, that goes into fall camp. And to me, number one, and the positive is Seth and Grant already have this, it requires a good relationship between those two guys. It's not a situation where, and you coach it up this way and you make sure they handle it this way, which they do right now anyway. It's not a situation where one guy stand on a sideline hoping the other guy messes up, or one guy stand on the sideline watching him play and not telling him or communicating with him certain reads or certain looks or what I've seen or what, the play is going to take care of itself, but you guys have to have a professional relationship, understanding that we're all in it for the same reason. This is a unique position because it's not like you're going to be rolling new guys in every other play like receivers do or like running backs do, So to me, that's the number one thing, which is already here, which is a positive thing, which, to be honest with you, I was a little concerned about when I was coming in, but after sitting down with them a couple of times, no longer is it a concern for me. And that, to me, that's how you just have to coach it up. And then you got to be open with them on a daily basis as to, you're here, you're number one for today, you're number two for today. This is why. This is what you need to do to move up. This is what you need to do to keep your spot and be able to keep those guys going. Because the other thing you can't do is play this position looking over your shoulder. You can't play this position afraid to make a mistake. So I also use the terminology, everything is an evaluation. So what they do in the weight room today is an evaluation. What they did this weekend when they weren't around football is an evaluation. What they're doing in the classroom is an evaluation, because all that stuff carries over to the field, which in turn, who plays best in the season or in spring ball, who plays best in fall camp. So that decision can be made as to who's going to give us the best opportunity to win football games.
Gotcha. And so it sounds like you've sat down with the quarterbacks already. And so I'm just kind of curious, what were your impressions early on, just meeting with the quarterbacks, and just kind of what did you take away right away?
They're a lot more mature than whatever their age is. They have that professional relationship. They have that understanding of each other, and that they understand football. Sometimes when you sit down with a freshman, like I told them, and like I tell all quarterbacks I play with, I want why guys. I don't want guys who, all right, my read is this because Coach Cramsey said this is what I'm reading. I want guys who understand why they're reading it that way, and they're reading it that way because football 101 stuff. Okay, so both those guys can sit down and can talk football with you all day long. Grant can do it. Seth, obviously, dad, a head coach in high school ball, grew up in the field house type of guy. can sit down and talk football. So they're much more mature than whatever their age is right now. They have really good football IQs, and they're both professional type individuals, which is what allows you to have a healthy quarterback controversy that's going to help the team, as opposed to, I've been places where sometimes, receivers where I like that guy, he's a better friend of mine, or he's my roommate, so I want him playing, where overall it's the whole team that I've gotten so far knows that the guy who gives us the best opportunity to win football games on Saturdays and fall is going to be the guy who plays for us.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Got it, man.
Terry Davis.
How you doing, Coach?
Good, Terry. How you doing, man?
Nice to meet you, man.
Very
Okay,
good.
you ran one system there, and they have another system here. Do you gonna implement your system that you came from Marshall with, or are you gonna try to do a hybrid system to what they had in there? And how do you plan to integrate your players into the whatever system you decide to run?
Well, the terminology is going to remain the same. Okay, it's easier for me to learn terminology than it is for, I'm just throwing out a number, 70 college kids to learn a new terminology. Okay, so terminology remains the same. Mean what we here call something is what we're going to continue to call it. Okay, and then kind of what I was alluding to earlier, where you're going into a situation where the offense has been good here, the offense has been successful here. So it's not a situation going into where we need to come in and change absolutely everything. So what are we good at? Let's continue doing that. What do we like doing? What do the skill sets match up with? Let's continue doing that. And then once I sit down and see exactly what's going on, then I come to the offensive staff and then Coach Silverfield with hey, this kind of matches up to our skill set of things I've done in the past that you currently don't have in the system. We all got a thumbs up. Cool, let's do that. And that to me is how you come together with our offense and be able to work that way. Now, again, I've done that. I've had a couple moves in my career, some for good reasons, some for necessary reasons, and different places you go, different things happen. But to me, this is the best way to do it, where they can still be confident, they can still be fast. You're throwing in a new idea here and there, which keeps the players excited. And more so, you're not just throwing in ideas for the sake of throwing in ideas. You're throwing in ideas because it matches the skill set of what we have and things within the system already that can be married up, and again, be able to attack defenses as we move forward.
All right. Thank you, Coach Cramsey. Oh, we got one more from Evan here. One more.
Evan, I see you there, man.
Sorry about that. I thought somebody else was going to jump in, so I was waiting a little bit. What was one more thing for me? Hold on, I'm just grabbing my note. I said my notepad. I have my iPad here too. But just as someone who's obviously you've obviously called offenses for so long, like you mentioned, being able to fit in very well with a system that's already here. How are you able to kind of do that, or is it difficult? Because obviously, what you ran in Marshall was successful. You see what's here in Memphis. As a coach, how difficult is it to kind of just come into a system that's already set, but you kind of have your own ideas, maybe what you want to do too?
Again, it's just terminology. It's how we say it. I'm talking football one-on-one terms. Everybody runs inside zone. Everybody runs counter. Everybody runs a mid-zone play. Everybody runs 4 verticals. Everybody runs a full progression cross-country route read. Everybody runs 3-tier read. So those plays are in. So as I'm looking through the video and looking through the playbook here, for me, it's just a difference of saying, all right, that is what I call go, they call Kansas. What I call Rattler, they call Maryland. I say they, we. Okay. But to me, it's just changing your terminology more than anything else. And then, as this is going to sound weird, but as I sit there and talk to myself, I'm talking through terminology so I can talk fast in the new language that I'm learning. But the plays themselves are similar. So then here's the plays I like. Once I learn the terminology here that we have, then the plays I like, okay, how would we call it here? Instead of calling it, I'm just throwing out words right now. Instead of calling it troop right, A twirl, stay Houston Duncan, we call it tray off, jazz, blah, blah, blah. you know, and to me, then you see it that way, you learn it that way, you practice. You know, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I walk around the house talking to myself, but you learn to talk fast. You know, if you guys haven't figured out yet, I normally do talk fast, which is what, you know, is normal for me. But to be able to see it in your head, call it in your head, and be able to do that, you got to be able to say it out loud. So that's all part of it. So is it difficult? No. Does it take some time? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it next week, but the good thing is we don't have to do it next week. Spring ball is about 5, maybe 6 weeks away. You got all spring ball. By the end of spring ball, I would have forgotten the language that we use at previous places because it's a different language that I have already learned. Then you practice through the summertime, go through fall camp again, so that week 1, that first play is easy to call because you got plenty of time. Play 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You're rattling off your tongue pretty quick. You're rattling off your mind pretty quick. You can visualize it in your head. You can say it without even thinking about what you want to say.